They say the hanging gardens of Babylon were never found. But what if they were never lost, only misplaced in memory? Not in Babylon, but farther north, where the Tigris winds through the dust and stone of Assyria, there once stood a garden unlike any other. A garden raised not by nature, but by the will of a king, terraced like a mountain, dripping with water drawn up from the deep. A miracle of clay, copper, and living green. They called it a wonder for all peoples. I have come to find it, not in books, but in dreams. And here, just before dawn, I arrive. The air is still cool as I step through the city gates. A breeze rolls off the river, carrying the faint scent of clay and cedar oil. The first light hasn't yet touched the rooftops. Everything is a soft shadow, wrapped in the blue hush of morning. My sandals whisper over smooth stones. The walls around me rise tall and quiet, their mud brick faces painted with traces of deep lapis and faded red. I pass closed market stalls, sleeping donkeys, and stone benches still holding the night's chill. The city is resting, and so am I. Each step is slow and measured. I am not in a hurry. The garden waits. The eastern sky brightens, just enough to gild the edges of towers and archways. I follow a narrow path cut between two high walls, where vines have crept through cracks and spill across the corridor. A soft sound begins to rise, the trickle of water. It seems to come from nowhere and everywhere. A hidden stream, perhaps, or something older. There is a gate ahead, flanked by stone lions whose manes are carved in swirling curls. Their faces are not fierce. They are calm, as if they too have waited centuries for this moment. I step between them and into the garden. At first, I think I have entered a canyon. The ground slopes upward before me, terraced like steps of a great staircase. But instead of bare rock, the rise is draped in green. Palms and tamarisks, fig trees and cypress, wild vines clinging to carved balustrades. The walls that hold these terraces are built from pale limestone, their surfaces cool and worn. Archways open beneath them, where vaulted chambers provide shelter for roots, for tools, and perhaps for quiet thoughts. Water flows here too, running in narrow channels along the paths and spilling gently over the ledges above. It falls like a curtain in places, so soft, so even, that it seems to hum rather than splash. The sun crests the edge of the eastern tower, and gold spills across the stones. The garden awakens slowly. Bees begin their work. Birds stir in the branches overhead. A soft breeze carries the scent of damp earth and crushed mint, and beneath it all, always, the water rises. I pause beneath a fig tree heavy with early fruit. Its leaves are broad and waxy, their undersides pale with dew. A low wall beside me is slick with moss, and when I touch it, my fingertips come away cool and fragrant. There is no sound of machines, no clatter or clamour. The irrigation is quiet, drawn up by bronze screws turned slowly and endlessly by water and weight, or perhaps by hands I never see. The terraces climb higher above me, layered like folds in a robe. Some are narrow and shadowed, others wide and bright. I take a stone stair upward, worn at the centre from centuries of feet, though mine may be the first in 1,000 years. Halfway up, I reach a platform shaded by date palms. Their fronds clatter softly in the wind. There is a long pool here, lined with smooth black stone. Lilies float in its centre, and beneath them the faintest ripple marks the flow of water. At the far end of the pool stands a tree carved in bronze, its branches curled into spirals, its leaves shaped like flames. It is not real, and yet it seems alive. Water runs along its limbs, drawn up from the chambers below, and trickling down in steady threads. The bronze is warm from the rising sun. I sit near it, quiet, and close my eyes. The garden is a mountain, but not made by the earth. It was lifted, terrace by terrace, vault by vault, raised by men who shaped stone and harnessed water. It is said the king who ordered its construction wished to bring the memory of mountains to his queen, memories of her homeland, where the air was cool and the trees grew thick along the ridges. Here in Nineveh, the plains stretch flat for miles. So he had a mountain made, not with dirt and rock, but with craft and vision. An aqueduct, they say, runs more than 50 miles from the mountains of Babylonian. It crosses valleys on arches of limestone. It rides the shoulders of hills, and when it reaches the city, it pours itself into hidden channels beneath this garden. There the water is gathered, lifted, guided. Bronze cylinders, perhaps made in the shape of tree trunks, turn in silence, raising water level by level, feeding the upper pools and shaded beds. The screws are said to twist like palms, their shape inspired by the coils of the alamitu tree. Each twist of metal, each link of chain, was forged not just for function, but for beauty. Even the machines here are part of the garden, and the water rises. I climb again. The air grows warmer and the light stronger. The garden is now fully awake, though it does not speak in words. It speaks in scent and sound. In one terrace, the breeze carries the perfume of citrus, tiny blossoms clinging to low shrubs. In another, I find beds of herbs, coriander, sage, hyssop. Their fragrance is sharp but not harsh. I brush my hand over them, and the scent clings to my skin. Everywhere there are pools and channels. Some run in straight lines, tracing the edges of walkways. Others curve like vines, disappearing into shaded alcoves. Water spills from spouts shaped like lions' mouths or curling fish. It gathers in bowls, then flows on, and the garden itself curves with it, paths winding not with order, but with grace. I pass a wall covered in ivy. Beneath it, a stone bench waits in shadow. I rest again. Overhead, the leaves move like fingers over a drum, tapping quietly with each gust. The stones beneath me are warm now. Sunlight filters through the greenery above, leaving shifting patterns on the path, like water dancing over stone. From this spot, I can see the edge of the city beyond the garden walls. Smoke rises in thin trails from morning fires. The river glitters in the distance. But here, within these walls, time moves differently. Perhaps it does not move at all. The trees are old, the water is older, and the breeze might be the same one that rustled the first saplings planted here. Near the upper terraces, the shade grows thin. The view widens. From here, I can see the full length of the garden's rise, from the outer gates and their lions, up through archways and pools to the summit, where vines trail from columns and the wind stirs the palms. It is not a place for work, though work built it. It is not a place for speech, though much has been spoken of it. It is a place for stillness, for breath, for remembering. I sit once more near a carved parapet. Below me, the garden hums. Water flows, birds call, leaves dance. The sun begins its slow arc westward. Shadows stretch. The air thickens slightly with warmth, but the garden is unchanged, always rising, always green. The water does not tire. The bronze screws turn on, and somewhere deep below, beneath vaults of stone and chambers of clay, the aqueduct delivers its silent offering. Water drawn from mountain streams, carried across plains, lifted skyward, drop by drop, so that here in the desert, a mountain of life may bloom. I descend once more, drawn by the sound. The path turns inward, curling like a vine toward the foot of the garden. The light is different here, cooler, filtered through rows of stone columns that cast long stripes across the ground. The morning has fully arrived, but beneath the garden there is always shade. This is where the mountain rests on its base. This is where the water begins to rise. I pass between two thick columns, their surfaces smooth with age. Above me, the upper terraces are hidden by vaulting stone. The ceiling curves like the inside of a shell, each arch supporting the weight of earth and garden above. Sunlight trickles through small openings, falling in narrow shafts like spilled honey. It is quiet here, not silent. There is always a murmur, the hush of flowing water, the creak of unseen chains, the faint tap of droplets on stone. The air is damp and cool. It smells of carved earth, aged lime, and something green and faintly sweet. I move slowly through this space, as if through a sacred place. It does not ask for reverence, but it receives it all the same. The lower terraces are not ornamental. They are the bones of the garden, the place where life is lifted, carried, and sustained. I pass a basin where water flows in from the east. This is no spring. It is the terminus of a great journey, an aqueduct stretching across valleys and hills, cut from limestone and carried on arches high enough to stand against the sky. They say it begins in the mountains of Babylonian, many leagues from here. Snowmelt and rain are gathered, channeled, tamed. The water is drawn from distant peaks, where cool air curls around stone pines, and streams run narrow and fast. It crosses the land as if it knows where it must go, threading through passes, slipping beside villages, and arriving here with grace, not force. And now it spills quietly into this basin, its journey not ending but beginning again. Along the walls, I see bronze rings fastened into stone, ropes stretched taut between them, running up into the ceiling. They sway slightly, pulsing with the turning of something unseen. A low, steady groan rises from the chambers beyond, almost too soft to hear. Not mechanical, not grinding, but more like breath. A kind of rhythm, slow and endless. These are the machines, hidden from sight. Bronze screws, they say, twist beneath the terrace vaults. They do not shout their labor. They turn with dignity, each coil lifting water higher, carrying it upward in a steady spiral. They are fed by the aqueduct stream, and in turn, they feed the garden. Some are cast whole, formed from bronze in the likeness of tree trunks. Others may be lined with copper or reinforced with palmwood ribs. The coils mimic the alamitu, the Assyrian palm whose trunk twists toward the sky in natural geometry. It is not artifice, it is memory made metal. I follow the water's path. Narrow runnels trace the floor, cut with care into the stone. They glisten with movement, guiding the overflow of the basin toward small pools and side channels. Moss clings to the edges. Ferns grow where the shade is deepest. Here, the lower terraces offer not grandeur, but intimacy. I pass into a chamber barely tall enough to stand. Its ceiling is low and arched, its walls cool to the touch. Inside is a cistern, quiet and deep. The surface of the water reflects the light above in trembling silver. A clay jar rests nearby. I lift it, fill it, and taste. It is cold and soft on the tongue, clear with the faintest hint of stone and distant snow. It tastes like the mountains, like movement, like patience. There are gardens even here, in the lowest levels. Against one wall, in a patch of filtered sun, grow mint, wild thyme, and coriander. Their leaves are small, bright, and close to the soil. Terracotta pots sit in rows, each filled with herbs and roots. The scent is grounding, green and warm, laced with the aroma of crushed leaves and wet clay. An elderly tree stands in a recessed corner, its trunk twisted and gnarled. It leans against the wall as if listening. Around its base, tiny white flowers bloom, unbothered by the shade. Bees find them even here, dancing slowly through the air. I sit beside the tree for a while. My back rests against the cool stone, and I let my fingers trail through a nearby channel. The water is still in motion, always in motion. The ropes creak again above me. Somewhere beyond this chamber, the screws are still turning. They do not stop, not for night, not for heat, not even for memory. They are the pulse of the garden, and the water rises. A stairwell winds upward from the cistern chamber, its steps shallow and narrow. I follow them slowly, one by one, my hand brushing the smooth wall beside me. Light grows stronger with each turn, and the air shifts, less cool, more fragrant. When I emerge, I find myself once more in the open garden, beneath the first ring of shade trees above the foundations. The noise of the city seems far away now. Only birds and water remain. This level is brighter than the last, though still ringed with columns and covered walks. The scent of cypress mixes with the mineral note of running water. A gardener passes me silently. He carries a jar and a curved blade. His robe brushes the ground. He nods as he walks, a gesture not of greeting, but of understanding. This is not a place for speech. Only the garden speaks. I step onto a stone platform, raised slightly above the flow. From here, I can see how the lower terraces connect, one feeding the next, all linked by channels and stairways, vaults and lifts. The design is seamless, though never rigid. This is no palace, no temple. It is something softer, older. The weight of the upper terraces rests on these bones, but you would not know it. The supports are graceful, the arches curved like ribs, the water steady as a breath, and the garden rises not only above, but from within. The lower terraces are its root, its memory, its breath, and always beneath it all. The water rises, the air is cooler again as I move inward, toward the garden's stone heart. Where others might climb upward into sun and leaf, I follow the arches beneath, drawn not by the trees above, but by the hush between them. The passage leads inward, not out, and the earth falls gently over my head. Here, under the terraces, the world softens. Stone curves above me, vaulted, silent and sure. It is not dark. Slits in the ceiling let in thin fingers of light. In places, glass bricks catch the sun, scattering it like fractured moonlight. My footsteps echo faintly, hushed by the dust of centuries. I breathe slowly. The air smells of lime and stillness. These vaults are the true garden, not for their beauty, but for their strength. The terraces above rest upon these bones. Each vault, each arch, each carefully placed block of limestone supports a world of greenery above. Without these chambers, the garden would sink, collapse, fade. But here, beneath the weight of stone and soil and water, the silence holds everything in place. The walls are thick. Their surfaces are not bare but lined in places with relief carvings, simple vines coiled in spirals, repeating endlessly. The pattern soothes the eye, as though the stone itself remembers leaves. I pass through an archway into a long corridor. The ceiling is low, the air damp. Thin channels run along the floor, leading water between chambers. I pause where two streams meet. Their joining is quiet, a fork made smooth with time. Moss carpets the edges, and tiny insects skitter across the surface. In the wall beside me is a small door, set into stone. Its frame is low, its surface plain. When I step through, I find myself in a square chamber, its ceiling domed and patterned with a ring of inset tiles, blue, white, and soft green. In the center of the room is a shallow pool, its surface perfectly still. This is not a bath. It is too small, too hidden. It is a place for reflection, a place for stillness. I kneel by the edge and look into the water. The dome above me reflects in its surface, a perfect circle rippling slightly with breath. I whisper nothing. There is nothing to say. Back in the corridor, the path bends again, revealing new spaces. One chamber houses shelves carved directly into the walls. Clay jars rest there, some filled with seed, others with herbs left to dry. A narrow window lets in sunlight, and the scent of sage fills the air. I touch one jar. Its surface is rough, cool, familiar. It reminds me of time, of patience, of purpose. Not everything in the garden is made to be seen. Some things are kept here, in the quiet belly of the garden, waiting to be used, waiting to be remembered. The stone holds everything. Farther in, the ceiling lowers again, and the vaulting becomes narrower. Here, water flows more audibly. I come to a place where the corridor splits around a wide pillar. Behind it, nestled in shadow, I see it, a great bronze screw. It rests inside a channel carved into the floor, its wide blades catching the trickle of water and lifting it upward, turn by turn. The bronze has darkened with age, streaked with pale mineral lines and patches of green-blue verdigris. A soft clinking echoes above, the sound of the turning chain. Somewhere out of sight, the screw is moving. Not fast, never fast, just steadily, like the breath of a sleeping world. I crouch and watch as water rides the blades upward, carried along the spiral like a whisper. The sound is soothing, a lullaby for the stone. I walk again, deeper still. The passage narrows once more, and a scent rises in the air, cool clay, aged copper, distant myrrh. There are storage chambers here where amphorae lie in rows, each sealed with wax and stamped with an ancient mark. Some hold water, others oil, perhaps wine. All are silent, all are still. Each amphora is placed with care, lined up as if awaiting a procession. Dust lies thick along their shoulders. A fine root has found its way through a crack in the wall, wrapping itself gently around one jar like a protective hand. Even here, where no sun reaches, the garden lives. At the end of the hall, I find a spiral stair, descending. I follow it, not because I must, but because the garden draws me deeper still. The air shifts as I move downward. It becomes stiller, heavier. The walls are closer now, smooth and cool to the touch. Every few steps, a carved niche holds a small flame. Lamps fed by olive oil, their light soft and golden. At the bottom is another vault, wider than any above. It is circular, and the ceiling rises like a dome, perfect, echoing, vast. In the center, a pool, larger than before, deeper, ringed with steps that vanish into the dark. I kneel. The surface is glass. It holds no movement, no reflection, only depth. The water here feels different, not fresher, not clearer, just older, older than the city, older than the king, older than me. I dip my hand in. The chill reaches my wrist, and still, from somewhere above, a drop falls, plip, into the pool. The ripple fades, silence returns. This is where the garden begins, not in trees or terraces or even water lifted to the sun, but here, in the quiet stone, in the weight that holds everything above, in the patience of vaulted rooms and the whisper of chains that never stop turning. This is the heart of the mountain, the place beneath the roots, the memory that holds the leaves, and above me, level by level, terrace by terrace. The water rises. There is a place in the garden where water moves not by gravity, but by will, where it doesn't fall, but climbs. Here, in the shaded spaces between terraces, the miracle becomes mechanical, and the mechanical becomes something more. Not loud, not urgent, but steady, predictable, like a heartbeat, like time. I follow a corridor cut through the terrace wall. The stones are damp, cool against my fingertips. A soft rhythmic creak echoes ahead, joined by the gentle clatter of metal links and the distant breath of turning wood. This is not noise. This is the music of the garden's body. I step into a wide chamber carved beneath the mid-terrace. Light filters in from slatted windows above, sending golden stripes across the floor. It smells of copper and river clay. The air is warm, stirred by the quiet rotation of the machines. At the center of the space stands a bronze water screw, tall, elegant, and coiled like the trunk of a palm. Its spiral runs the length of the shaft, encased in a narrow wooden cylinder reinforced with metal bands. A small pool glimmers at its base, fed by a channel from the lower vaults. The screw turns slowly, lifted by a system of chains and wheels, not powered by animals or men, but by the weight of water itself, falling in one place to rise in another. A balance, a quiet rhythm. Each turn scoops water from the basin below and guides it upward, along the spiral, toward an outlet near the ceiling. And from there, it flows again, into the next terrace, the next channel, the next waiting route. I step closer. The bronze is burnished with use. Its surface catches the light in a dull shimmer, the color of sun-warmed stone. I hear the soft kiss of water slipping along the blades, the faint clink of chains shifting over a carved gear. Beside it, another screw rests dormant, smaller, set at an angle, perhaps for backup, perhaps for another season. Tools lie near its base, a hooked rod, a curved file, a wooden bowl. There are no labels, no inscriptions, only function and care. Someone tends these machines, keeps them turning, listens for changes in tone, feels for heat, wipes the gears clean with cloth soaked in oil and mint. I do not see them, but I feel their presence. The garden is not abandoned. It is remembered. Beyond the chamber, a narrow stair climbs to a service platform. I follow it, rising slowly until I reach a landing with a view into the turning chamber below. From here, I see them all, 4 screws in motion, each drawing water from a lower basin and sending it upward. The platforms stagger in tiers, each feeding the next. The sound is mesmerizing, a layered rhythm, steady and hypnotic. Creak, clink, splash, pause, creak again. Each cycle takes only seconds, but the garden is patient. It does not rush. It only needs water, and the water always comes. There are other devices here too. Levers that open hidden sluices, stone ramps that guide flow toward cisterns tucked beneath stairwells, copper bowls positioned to catch the first overflow and redirect it toward drying beds of wildflowers. Some are ancient, others are new, or repaired, or made again in the image of something older. On one wall, etched faintly into plaster, is a diagram, a circle with lines spiraling outward, marked with symbols I do not understand. It might be a map, it might be a memory, or it might be a message, not for me, but for those who tend the water long after I have gone. I pass through a curtain of hanging reeds that sway gently in the breeze. On the other side, I find a smaller chamber, quieter still. Here, a single water screw turns in silence. It is shorter than the others, mounted at a lower angle. Its casing is carved from dark wood, bound in bronze strips that gleam in the filtered light. No chain moves it, no wheel. Instead, a tread, narrow, smooth, worn from use. I watch as a figure steps onto it, barefoot and unhurried. With slow motion they walk, not forward but upward, on the outer casing. Each step turns the screw beneath them. The water lifts. The figure continues. There is no rush, no strain, only movement, only purpose. They look up, catch my gaze for a moment, and smile faintly. Then they return to their steps. Outside, the sun has risen higher. The garden glows. The water, lifted from the base to the heart, now flows freely into upper pools. Here it slows, lingers, reflects. But it does not stop. Always it moves, through stone channels, over carved edges, into the roots of trees. I sit near a circular basin ringed with lilies. Their white petals drift gently in the breeze. The water enters from a small spout carved in the shape of a bull's head. It exits through a narrow slit beneath the stone lip, invisible but always flowing. I dip my fingers in. The water is warm now, kissed by sunlight, softened by air. It has risen far from where it began. They say the king who built this place invented a new way to cast bronze, that he shaped the screws like trees, coiled them like palms, and taught them to draw rivers upward into the sky. They say the machines have turned ever since, not with speed, not with pride, but with patience, with care, with breath. And somewhere deep beneath the roots, the first drop still rises. I ascend again, stone by stone, terrace by terrace. The air grows warmer as I rise. The shadows shorten. The wind changes. From the quiet hush of vaults and screws and shadowed pools, I emerge into brightness. The upper terraces lie ahead, where the sun paints everything gold, and the garden opens to the sky. The climb is not steep, but slow, measured. With every step, the world grows wider. I pass between two columns wrapped in flowering vines, white blossoms the size of coins, their petals curling gently in the heat. They perfume the path, sweet, dry, faintly herbal. The stone here is pale and clean. It glows with sunlight. The walls are lower, the arch is broader. The shade is lighter, no longer a cool refuge, but a delicate veil dancing between tree and breeze. And above me, for the first time, I see sky. There is no roof above the upper terraces, only the deep blue dome of morning. The horizon stretches far, the city below softened by distance and haze. The river gleams like a silver thread. Beyond it, the land flattens into the plain, low fields, scattered homes, and the faint rise of distant hills. But here, in the garden's crown, the earth becomes something else. It becomes light, and air, and memory. The upper terraces are a world unto themselves. Here the trees grow tall. Cypress, pine, pomegranate, date palms lean toward the sun, their fronds fluttering in long, lazy sweeps. Beneath them, the paths curve around raised beds lined with smooth ceramic tiles, blue and green reflecting the sky. Water flows still, always, but here it lingers, in long pools, clear and shallow, where reeds and lilies thrive, in quiet channels that border the walkways, bordered by polished stone, in still ponds where birds gather, white doves, black-winged starlings, pale ibises with curved beaks and long legs. The water is slower here, gentler, as if it too has climbed and is now resting. I walk beneath an arbor woven with grapevines. Their leaves form a high canopy, shading a table carved from alabaster and set with low stools. Clay cups rest atop it, untouched but ready, as if waiting for a quiet gathering that never ends. Beyond it, the path opens onto a wide platform, half-circle in shape, rimmed with low walls. It overlooks the garden below. From here I see it all, the rise of terraces, the arch of vaults, the silver threads of water winding upward. I stand in stillness. A breeze stirs my robe. The warmth of the stone touches the soles of my feet. A bird cries in the distance. Somewhere below, a chain turns. A drop falls. A pool ripples, and the garden breathes. I find a bench nestled beneath a tamarisk tree. Its branches fan outward, its trunk pale and twisted, its bark peeling in soft curls. The ground beneath it is cool, covered in fine gravel and tiny blue flowers. I sit. The stone seat is smooth and wide. Around me, the upper terrace curves gently into a ring, broken only by archways and stairwells. Its design is simple, but it does not feel empty. Every space holds something: a breeze, a shadow, a scent, a memory. I watch the sky. Clouds drift in slow procession. Birds trace circles high above. The sun continues its arc. And still, the water rises, drawn from the earth below, carried through bronze and clay and stone, now resting here in still pools and gentle sounds. The garden feels alive, not like a forest or a wild field, but like a body at rest, breathing, balanced, whole. Every channel, every plant, every pathway seems part of a larger rhythm. Not a design of control, but of care. Not command, but invitation. A space created not to impress, but to soothe. A place for silence, and for presence, and for return. I wander between beds of jasmine and myrtle. Their blossoms lean toward the light. Bees drift from flower to flower, unhurried. In one corner, a basin overflows into a shallow trough. The water slips over its edge in a thin, continuous veil, falling like silk into a sunlit catch below. Light dances in the ripple. A sparrow dips its head to drink. I close my eyes, and in the darkness behind my lids, I see the garden still, vines swaying, water turning, bronze gleaming, roots reaching. Nothing is lost. Everything moves. Everything remains. The upper terraces do not shout. They do not show. They do not prove. They wait. They breathe. They offer. I lie down beside a still pool, beneath the shadow of a tall fig tree. The sun warms my face. The stone warms my back. The scent of rosemary rises from the path. I hear only water, and birds, and wind. Above me, leaves shift slowly. Below me, the stones remember the weight of thousands of feet. And beneath it all, beneath root and soil, bronze and basin, the water rises. Time slows. Above the garden, the sun has passed its highest point. Its warmth now softens, stretching long shadows across the upper terraces. The wind quiets. The air thickens slightly with heat. Not oppressive, just full, ripe, still. This is the hour when everything seems to pause, and I pause with it. I sit in a quiet corner near a reflecting pool edged with green glazed tiles. The water is warm now, its surface shimmering beneath specks of drifting light. Above, the leaves of a broad plane tree flutter, casting shifting shadows that dance lazily across the stones. The scent of jasmine lingers in the air, fainter now, mingling with the sharper, drier notes of sun-baked cedar and faded mint. Somewhere beyond the garden walls, life continues. In the city below, voices rise, work resumes, carts roll along the stone roads. But here, inside the walls, the world hushes. Even the birds have quieted, as if they too are resting. I stretch out beside the pool, my hand trailing in the water. Its touch is soft and slow-moving, curling around my fingers before slipping away again. The pool mirrors the sky, clouds drifting like islands in an endless sea of blue. A bee hums nearby, circling lazily, then disappearing into the shade. I breathe deeply. The garden breathes with me, in and out, in again. The light shifts gently. Terrace walls glow gold now, their edges soft and round. In the distance, near the base of a date palm, a lizard rests on a sun-warmed brick, still as a sculpture. The air is rich with the scent of ripening fruit. Somewhere close, pomegranates hang heavy on their branches, round, red, dappled with shadow. One has fallen, split open on the ground. Ants gather at its center, moving in neat, perfect lines. There is no rush in this place, only presence, only weightless time. The pathway ahead curves into a corridor of vines and stone. I walk slowly, the sound of my footsteps softened by a carpet of dust and petals. Each breath I take feels slower than the one before. My arms grow heavy. My eyes feel warm. Around a corner, I find a sunken seating area, its benches carved into the terrace wall, wrapped in reed mats and soft cushions. I lower myself there, leaning back into the shade. Above me, hanging vines shift gently in the breeze. Their shadows roll across the stone in patterns like moving silk. The water, still flowing somewhere nearby, murmurs faintly. A voice that never grows tired, a rhythm that never stops. I begin to drift, not away, not down, but inward, into stillness, into the hum of distant bees, into the glint of sunlight on old copper, into the low, low echo of a chain pulling, a screw turning, a drop of water rising. The garden holds me. I'm not alone here, even in this quiet, even in this stillness. The walls remember, the roots remember. The stones, warmed by hundreds of years of sun, remember. I lie back against the cool curve of the bench. Above me, the sky is bluer than before, rich and endless. No clouds now, just the wide dome of day stretching over the trees. In the distance, a flute plays, faint, delicate, barely more than breath. A gardener? A traveler like me? Or simply the wind threading its fingers through a hollow reed? I close my eyes again. The song continues. In this hour, the garden becomes less a place and more a thought. Not made of stone or root, but of warmth, breath, and drifting light. It curls through my body like smoke. It settles like a weightless cloth over my shoulders. I imagine a chamber deeper still, hidden even from the caretakers. A place without walls, without floor, without edge. Only water held in darkness, still, waiting. The sun lowers. I rise. I walk again, barefoot now, the stone warm against my skin. Through herb gardens where rosemary bushes lean into one another. Through rows of figs, their fruit soft and pulsing with color. Through low doorways draped in vine and silk. I stop at a basin carved from a single piece of alabaster. Inside, water flows through the mouth of a lion, landing in a bowl carved with stars. I dip my fingers in. The water is cooler now. Time has moved, even if I have not. Evening nears, though not fully. This is the garden's golden hour, when everything seems touched by memory, when shadows stretch, but do not yet disappear, when sound and silence blend into something softer than both. I sit beneath a cedar, its branches wide and low, its needles fragrant in the air. A dove coos, a fig falls. Somewhere below a chain turns once more, and the water rises. The sun begins its descent. The light, once gold, turns to amber, then copper, then a soft pink dust that clings to the leaves. The garden absorbs it all, drinking in the fading warmth like dry earth takes in rain. The wind returns, lighter, cooler, changed. It passes through the trees with longer pauses now, brushing the undersides of leaves, sending shadows to ripple over stone. I walk without thought, led not by direction, but by light. I follow a path rimmed with lilies. Their petals have closed for the night. The scent that clung to them at midday has faded into something fainter, softer, more distant. I imagine it lingering in the air like a memory, unseen but everywhere. The stones underfoot have cooled. They hold the warmth of the day like a low, slow fire, no longer heat, but the ghost of it. The birds have quieted, the bees have vanished, and the water, though still moving, seems to speak more softly now, as though even it prepares to rest. I pass the terrace wall, now tinted mauve by the sky. I pause beside a cedar trunk, thick and cracked with age. And then I see the place from which I first entered the garden. The lions, still standing, still watching, still waiting. Their eyes carved with patience, gaze into the same horizon they have faced for centuries. They do not move, and yet somehow they greet me. A nod, a hush, a welcome back. I sit on the same bench beneath the fig tree, now older in light than it was before. The leaves above me catch the last rays of sun, glowing in threads of green and violet. They move like the surface of a sleeping lake, slow, weightless, rippling from a wind that has nowhere to be. Insects begin their hum. The stars, faint and blinking, begin to scatter across the edge of night. One, then two, then more. They arrive slowly, as if unsure if they are ready to be seen. I close my eyes. I do not sleep. Not yet. But I drift. Inside the hush. Inside the branches. Inside the roots. I drift through the memory of water. I think of the artisans who shaped this place. The hands that pressed clay into channels. The minds that calculated the arc of water, the weight of stone, the curve of terraces. The backs that lifted bronze into place. The fingertips that tested each drop for balance, each beam for tension, each leaf for light. They are not here, but they are not gone. Their breath still lingers in the vaults. Their dreams still echo beneath the arches. Their care still turns the screws, and the water remembers. They say this garden was a wonder of the world, that it was one of seven, that it rose from desert and dazzled those who saw it. And yet, when the city fell, it vanished. No stone remained, no record, no ruin, and so they say it must not have existed. But I do not believe that, because I have walked its paths. I have watched the sunlight ripple across its pools. I have stood beneath the turning bronze. I have heard the low, eternal voice of water rising. And I know the garden was never lost. It simply waited, in silence, in patience, in memory. The stars brighten. The garden fades into blue. I lie down once more, beneath the fig, beside the pool. The sky stretches above me. The earth holds me. I listen to the night descend. A dove calls once, then stops. A reed knocks gently against a stone basin, and far below, deep in the first chamber, below the vaults, below the memory of roots and vaults and clay, a drop falls, a ripple spreads, a screw turns, a chain lifts. This is the garden's breath, the one it has drawn for centuries, the one it will draw long after me. It rises and falls and rises again, just as water does, just as memory does, just as breath. And in this quiet, in this moment when the sky has turned to silver and the water whispers without shape or edge, I let go, not into sleep, but into stillness, and the water rises.